All right, ready to dive in.
Yeah.
Today we're exploring something pretty universal, something we all have a relationship with,
Mm-hmm.
food.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going way beyond just like, what's on your plate.
Right?
We're going to be looking at how food shapes our connections, our cultures, even our values.
Yeah.
And we're going to be starting with, I think, a pretty interesting word of the day.
Okay. I like it. Hit me.
So are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right.
I am victual.
Victuals, courtesy of Merriam-Webster.
Merriam-Webster, always a good source.
So good. It sounds kind of like old-fashioned,
It does. It does. But it really captures, I think, the essence of food as like sustenance.
Yeah.
It's the thing that keeps us going.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds almost poetic,
A
right?
little bit. Yeah.
Victuals.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is so cool about this deep dive we're doing. It's like we're looking at food kind of through that poetic lens. We're exploring, like, its deeper meanings and its impact.
I like it.
And we've got a bunch of questions and responses that were inspired by this word victuals. And they really get you thinking. Like, have you ever noticed how just sharing a meal, like the simplest act of sharing a meal,
Yeah.
can just instantly create a sense of connection,
Oh, yeah.
even with people you barely know?
Absolutely. It's actually something that anthropologists have been studying for ages and ages.
Yeah.
Sharing a meal, it's been like this social ritual, like across cultures and throughout history, really.
Totally.
I mean, it goes way beyond just fueling our bodies. You know what I mean? There's something I think almost primal about breaking bread together.
Mm,
You get this sense of trust, the shared experience that you're having,
yeah.
and it transcends language, transcends cultural barriers, all that.
It's so true. I've definitely experienced that. Like, especially traveling. Have you ever like been in a foreign country and couldn't speak the language?
Oh, yeah.
And you just like sit down and share some food with someone.
Yeah.
And there's just this like
Instant connection.
unspoken bond.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like food becomes this universal language.
Mm-hmm.
You think about dishes like even like pizza or sushi.
Oh, yeah.
They've spread like across the globe. They've become these symbols of cultural exchange.
It's pretty amazing.
It is amazing. It is amazing how like just that simple act of sharing food can lead to, greater understanding, empathy between people.
Totally. And, it's not always about like fancy meals, or exotic ingredients or anything like that. One of the responses that we have talks about witnessing just a line of people experiencing homelessness,
Right.
waiting for a meal.
Yeah.
And it really highlighted like the fundamental role of food in like survival and community.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a really important observation, because it raises the question of food security and its impact on community well-being, I mean, like, imagine the difference in a community where everybody has access to nutritious food versus a community where access is limited or uncertain. Food insecurity, it can really undermine a community's strength and stability,
Totally.
It can lead to all sorts of other societal issues. It's really important.
Yeah. Makes you realize that something as basic as just having a meal
Right.
can have these like ripple
It's on
effects.
ripple effects.
To so many
Yeah.
different levels.
For sure.
But on a lighter note, the source material also includes this like hilarious story about a self-proclaimed professional Subway eater.
Okay, a professional Subway eater, what is that?
This person was so devoted to like their post-work egg sandwich routine that they actually got a regular customer discount.
Oh, way.
Like for real.
Oh my gosh, that is commitment.
Right. I know. It's amazing.
That is amazing. Wow.
It's such a it's a fantastic example of how like specific meals can just become so woven into our personal narratives.
Absolutely. Yeah. Food nostalgia, man. It's a powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Certain tastes and smells, I swear, they can transport us back in time,
Totally.
evoke strong emotions, even remind us of loved ones that maybe we've lost or,
Yeah.
It's really powerful. What about you? Think about your own, like, are there any specific foods that, like, hold special meaning or memories for you?
Oh, absolutely. For me, it's my grandma's apple pie.
Oh, classic.
Just the smell of cinnamon and apples baking like instantly takes me back to her kitchen.
Oh, man, that's beautiful.
I know. So powerful. But speaking of food and memories, one of the responses we have brings up this idea that, you are what you eat.
Okay. Yeah.
Hinting at like a connection between food choices and personal values.
That's a concept that has sparked, I think, like endless debates, endless discussions,
Mhm.
you know? While the statement itself might be an oversimplification, I think there's no denying that our food choices do reflect aspects of our identity.
Yeah.
Like everything from our cultural background, our upbringing, to our personal ethics, even our personality traits, it's all in there.
Right. The source material mentions someone who started making healthier food choices after beginning, like, a new workout routine.
Okay. Yeah.
Makes sense, right?
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
like if you value health and fitness,
Yeah.
then your dietary choices are going to probably reflect that.
Totally. Yeah, your actions are going to follow your values. And what's fascinating is how diverse our food preferences can be.
Yeah.
Some people, they're adventurous eaters. They're always out there seeking new flavors, new experiences.
Hmm.
Other folks, they prefer the comfort of familiar dishes,
Mm.
sticking to what they know.
Yeah.
Some prioritize organic, locally sourced ingredients, while others might focus on convenience or affordability.
Right.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to this stuff.
It's all part of what makes exploring the world of food so fascinating.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
But speaking of exploration, one thing that really struck me in this source material was the emphasis on shaping children's palates early on.
Oh, interesting.
One response even suggests that, like, if kids are only exposed to healthy foods,
Yeah.
they won't know the difference.
Like they won't even crave the quote-unquote bad stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's interesting. There's a lot of truth to that. Our palates, they develop over time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And early exposure to diverse flavors and textures, it can really set the stage for a lifetime of like healthy and enjoyable eating habits.
Right.
It's all about finding that sweet spot,
Mhm.
like introducing a wide range of foods, but also fostering an appreciation for balance and moderation.
Hmm.
What stands out to you about this part of the conversation?
I'm thinking about how, like, we can encourage kids to be more adventurous eaters,
Right?
without making meal times like this battleground.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like how do we strike that balance between exposing them to new things and also like respecting their individual preferences?
Oh, yeah. That's tricky. That's really tricky. It's a delicate dance, for
Hmm.
sure. But one of the, I think, most surprising things we came across was this anecdote about someone who tried pizza and sushi for the first time
Okay.
and hated them.
What? I can't even imagine disliking pizza.
I know, right?
But I guess it makes sense. Like, our brains and our taste buds, they're constantly learning and adapting to new flavors, especially with like repeated exposure. Do you think there's like a scientific explanation for why we might initially reject certain foods?
Yeah, there's definitely a biological component to our taste preferences.
Okay.
Some research suggests that, like, our initial aversion to certain flavors might be a protective mechanism. Like, it's a way for our brains to avoid, like, potentially harmful substances.
Yeah.
Right. But cultural influences also play a huge role in shaping our food preferences, too. What might seem like totally delicious in one culture could be completely unappetizing in another.
That's so interesting. It's like our relationship with food is shaped by this complex interplay of nature and nurture.
Totally. It's so complex. It's fascinating. So complex. It's
Yeah,
fascinating.
absolutely.
And, before the break, we were talking about how our brains might kind of initially reject certain flavors as like this built-in defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is unfamiliar. Proceed with caution,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
That whole idea really made me think about like how subjective taste actually is. Like something that one person finds delicious
Oh, yeah.
could be like totally repulsive to someone else.
Totally.
And even like our own tastes change over time.
For sure.
Like I used to hate sushi, and
Right.
now I love it.
Yeah.
So it's like it can
Yeah.
it can change.
It's true. It's true. That's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah.
Our palates are constantly evolving.
Yeah.
One person in our source material mentioned that they used to be like a super picky eater,
Okay.
but they've become much more adventurous with food as they've gotten older.
Uh-huh.
And they even said that trying new dishes has become like a way for them to connect with different cultures and broaden their horizons.
I love that.
What do you think about that?
I think it's awesome. It's like food can be like this passport to like a whole new world
Yeah.
of experiences and perspective.
Absolutely.
It's not just about what's on the plate. It's about like the stories behind the food,
Yes.
the people who prepared it, the traditions that it like represents.
That's it. Food can be a powerful tool for storytelling, cultural exchange.
Mm.
And it can also be a source of creativity and self-expression.
Yeah.
I mean, think about like the artistry involved in like cooking and presenting food, it's a form of communication in itself.
Totally. From like elaborate plating to fusion cuisine, it's like
Oh, yeah.
chefs are constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible with food.
Yeah, they're using ingredients as their paint. The plate is their
Yeah,
canvas.
exactly.
It's an evolving art form,
Hmm.
constantly reflecting our history, our culture, our ever-changing relationship with, the world around us.
Yeah.
But, while food often, it brings people together, it can also sometimes highlight our differences.
Do you mean like how food preferences and dietary restrictions can sometimes lead to like misunderstandings or even conflict?
Precisely.
Yeah.
I mean, think about like even the debates surrounding vegetarianism, veganism, or even just like picky eating.
Right.
Food can be a source of like strong opinions and emotions. Sometimes those differences can create tension between people.
Well, I've definitely been in situations where like someone's food choices have like raised a few eyebrows or even like sparked a like heated debate.
It happens. It
Yeah.
definitely happens. It's important to, I think, approach those situations with empathy and understanding. Everyone has their own unique relationship with food, shaped by their experiences, their cultural background, their beliefs. While it's okay to have preferences, it's equally important to respect other people's choices,
Hmm.
even if we don't fully understand them.
Right. Yeah. It's like you don't have to agree with someone's dietary choices to
Exactly.
respect their right to make those choices.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And sometimes those conversations about food can actually be a great way to like learn from each other and build bridges,
Yeah.
even if we don't see eye to eye on everything.
For sure. Food can be a starting point for dialogue, and connection, even when it comes to like sensitive topics.
Hmm.
And it reminds us, that even in our differences, we share a common human need,
Yeah.
the need to eat.
Right. Exactly.
It's a beautiful reminder that food is something that connects us all. Regardless of our backgrounds, our beliefs, our preferences, we all got to eat.
We all got to eat.
And that brings us to, I think, a fascinating aspect of our relationship with food, the psychology of food choices.
Okay.
Are you ready to delve into the intriguing connections between our food preferences, our personalities, and our values?
Bring it on. I'm ready to have my mind blown wide open. This deep dive just keeps getting more and more intriguing.
Well, get ready to be fascinated
Okay.
because what we're about to explore is truly remarkable. It's all about how our personalities, our values, and even, our deepest desires can be reflected in the foods that we choose to eat.
Hmm.
Have you ever considered that your love of spicy food might say something about your personality?
Wait, seriously. My love of all things hot and spicy
I'm
is a
serious.
personality trait. Tell me more.
Researchers have found some like compelling links between like personality traits and food preferences.
Okay.
For instance, people who are more sensation seeking, those who love adventure and novelty, they tend to gravitate toward like bold flavors, spicy foods, exotic cuisines.
Okay.
Does that resonate with you at all?
It totally does. I'm all about trying new things, especially when it comes to food. And I definitely have like a high tolerance for spice.
Yeah,
The hotter, the better.
there you go. See?
Yeah.
And on the flip side, people who are more cautious, more routine oriented, often prefer familiar comfort foods,
Hmm.
milder flavors. They find solace and stability in those classic dishes.
I can definitely see that. Like there's something
Yeah.
so comforting about a like warm bowl of soup or a classic grilled cheese sandwich when you're like feeling a bit under the weather or
Sure.
just need a little dose of nostalgia.
Absolutely. It hits the spot, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just about personality traits. Our values and beliefs also play a role.
Mm-hmm.
For example, people who are environmentally conscious often prioritize like locally sourced organic produce,
Right.
while those concerned about animal welfare might choose a vegetarian or vegan diet. It's like our food choices become a way of aligning our actions with our values, like making a statement about who we are and what we stand for.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like food can be like this form of activism almost.
Yeah, it can be. And then there's the whole emotional aspect of food, too. We often turn to certain foods for comfort, stress
Oh
relief,
yeah.
or even to celebrate special occasions.
Oh, for sure. Like bad day at work, bring on the giant bowl of ice cream,
Exactly.
first day celebration, cake and more cake.
Gotta have it.
It's like food has this magical ability to just like boost our mood,
It does.
make everything feel a little bit better.
It does. You know why? Because food can be a powerful mood regulator. It triggers the release of endorphins and other feel-good chemicals in our brains.
Makes sense.
You know, it's no wonder we have such strong emotional connections to certain foods and flavors.
It's like food goes beyond just nourishing our bodies. It nourishes our souls too.
Beautifully put. Beautifully put. And all of these factors, our personalities, our values, our emotions, our experiences,
Hmm.
they all combine to create our unique food identities.
Food identities. Is that like a real thing?
It is a real thing.
Okay.
Just as we have, personal identities based on our beliefs, values, experiences,
Right.
we also develop these food identities
Yeah.
that reflect our preferences, our habits, and the role that food plays in our lives. What are your thoughts on that?
I, it's fascinating to think about. It's not just about what we eat, but like why we eat it
Yeah.
and what it means to us on a deeper level.
Yeah.
It's like there's this whole hidden language of food
Yes.
that we're like just beginning to understand.
That's a brilliant way to put it. And the more we explore that language, the more we can understand ourselves and each other.
Totally. I'm starting to see food in a whole new light.
Right.
It's like we've uncovered this like hidden world of meaning and symbolism.
It's true.
It's been right in front of us all along.
It has been. It has been. And this is just the beginning. There's so much more to discover about this, fascinating world of food and its impact on our lives. But before we, go any further, let's take a moment to kind of digest everything we've explored so far.
Hmm.
When we return, we'll delve into even more surprising connections between food, culture, and identity. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, welcome back. We're diving even deeper into this world of food, how it intersects with our lives, with our cultures, and with really who we are at our core.
I love it. And before the break, we were teasing out this idea of food identities.
Mm-hmm.
This concept that what we choose to eat reveals so much about, our personalities, our values, our experiences.
Right. It's fascinating.
It really is. It's mind-blowing. And I'm curious, what role do you think early childhood experiences play in shaping our food identities?
Oh, that's a great question. Like, do you think picky eaters are born or made?
Yeah. Are they nature or nurture?
Yeah. It's likely a combination, you
Okay.
know? I think it's a bit of both. We know our taste buds develop over time,
Mm-hmm.
and they're heavily influenced by those early exposures. Think
Right.
about, like, the flavors, the textures that we're exposed to early on.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. A child growing up in a household where there's, like, a diverse and adventurous approach to food
Mm.
is more likely to develop a broader palate than a child whose meals are more limited, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's just more exposure. Makes sense.
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
I remember being like hesitant to try new things as a kid,
Yeah.
but my parents always encouraged me to at least take a bite,
Mm.
And now I'm so grateful they did because, I've discovered so many amazing foods that I would have totally missed out on otherwise.
That's great. I love that. It really highlights the powerful impact of those early experiences,
Yeah.
right? If you grow up in a home where meal times are like enjoyable, they're social occasions, there's a variety of flavors, textures,
Mhm.
you're more likely to develop that like positive and adventurous attitude towards food. Right.
But on the other hand, if your childhood was marked by pressure to clean your plate or like negative associations with certain foods,
Yeah.
you might develop, a more restrictive or even anxious relationship with food.
Wow, yeah. It's like those early experiences can really lay the foundation for like our adult relationship with food, huh?
They totally can.
It's like a blueprint for how we approach meal times, how we make our food choices.
Mm.
Mhm.
It's something to be mindful of, both for ourselves and for, the kids in our lives too.
Right.
We can foster a healthier and more positive relationship with food
Mhm.
by creating a more relaxed and enjoyable atmosphere around mealtimes,
Mm-hmm.
Encourage that exploration, that curiosity, expose kids to a variety of flavors, textures,
Yeah.
but most importantly, I think model those healthy eating habits ourselves.
Oh, that's huge.
Because kids are incredibly perceptive and they learn by watching the adults in their lives.
Mm-hmm. So true. It's not just about telling them to eat their vegetables. It's about showing them that healthy food can be delicious and fun,
Exactly.
and maybe even getting them involved in the kitchen,
Yeah.
letting them help with meal prep or try new recipes together.
I love that. The more connected they feel to the process, the more likely they are to develop, like, that positive and lifelong relationship with food.
Mm-hmm.
After all, food is so much more than just fuel.
Right.
It's a celebration of life, a source of pleasure, a way to connect with our cultures, our communities,
Mm.
and ultimately ourselves.
I love that. This
Yeah.
whole deep dive has been an incredible journey.
Oh, it has been.
We've uncovered so many like fascinating layers to something that we often take for granted.
It's true.
From the social ritual of sharing a meal to the deeply personal connections we form with certain foods, it's clear that food is woven into the very fabric of our lives.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that every meal has a story to tell.
And every bite can be an adventure. So, as we wrap up this exploration, we'd love to hear from you. What food experiences have most profoundly shaped your relationship with food? What are the flavors, the aromas, the memories that define your own personal food journey? Share your stories, share your culinary adventures, and let's continue this fascinating conversation together.
I love it. And until next time, happy eating, everybody.